We'll start the meeting. Call to order the April 25th, 2023 meeting of the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board. Can we please begin with a roll call?
James Murphy.
Here.
Donna Tomaszewski. Let the record reflect that Donna is not here. Gabriel Jarozwowski.
Here.
Amanda Skyer.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg.
Here.
Dan Pickney.
Here.
Kevin Breslauer.
Here.
Todd McLean.
Here.
We now move on to the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
And we do have David Burke here this evening as well.
Oh, sorry, we have one.
Here.
And David Burke. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't think we have any changes to the agenda from staff. Anyone on the board want to make a change to the agenda? Okay, can we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve tonight's Historic Preservation Board agenda.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we now move on to approval of the minutes from the March 28th meeting. Any changes to the minutes as presented in your packet? We have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from the March 28, 2023 Historic Preservation Board meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then we move on to the report of the Historic Preservation Planner.
Good evening, Frederique Metner, City Historic Preservation Planner. A couple updates since your last meeting. Staff has had 163 level 1 applications in, so we are not slowing down at all, and 52 zoning reviews. Also, under general communications, I wanted to share that Arlene is going to be transitioning her board attorney duties over to Melissa Anderson, who's in the audience this evening. So you will have a new board attorney. And to report back from your annual meeting last time, there were 2 requests you had made of us as staff. We did explore changing the date of the meeting. Unfortunately, due to staffing concerns, we are not able to accommodate that. So I'm sorry that is not possible. But the good news is you do have purview on hardscape review. That was your other request. So at your seats, you do have the Zoning and Land Development Section 94-49, our Certificate of Appropriateness Procedures for Review. And on the second page, under 4A1, the last line, for anything that is new construction on alterations, the last part is highlighted, and it does address parking service areas, walkways, and accessory structures. So hardscape is something that can be addressed. Everything will have to meet minimum code requirements, which, of course, we always do a zoning review before it gets here, and then we always check the zoning aspect when it comes in for building permits, so it gets a double check. And it'll definitely have to meet the minimums, but it was our understanding that it was more of a compatibility issue, especially on larger lots when it was excessive, and to be consistent with a neighboring property, not because it didn't meet a minimum in any way. So you do have that purview, and I just wanted to share that update with you. The other item that I was hoping to get some clarification on from the board this evening is we obviously field a lot of inquiries, whether it's from homeowners or applicants or architects, about materials that they can utilize, and we base it on best practices around the country, our design guidelines, feedback we've heard from the board. But there's a new material that I wasn't familiar with, and it's a roof tile that is not a synthetic, because of course we don't approve synthetic materials. If a property owner chooses to utilize that, they would have to come to the board to request that. And it's for a slate, but made out of concrete. So I have a sample here, and so the idea is that it mimics the look of a slate, so it has that texture to it, and the variation here, and I can pass it around. And so it is an authentic material, but it's not truly, excuse me, a shake, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I said slate. Usually we have our synthetics that come, people try to do slates and synthetics. I meant a shake in concrete. There is a wood shake product out there that does meet the Miami-Dade County, and that's an option, but this is out of concrete. And so I just wanted to get the feedback, because this is unique in the sense that it's not a synthetic, it's an authentic material, but it is replicating something that it's not. I think it's a better product than I've seen before. My only concern would be it would be a slippery slope, because in the past we have not supported a metal tile that replicates a clay barrel tile, but that's also because the thickness varies on that. So just wanted to get your feedback, if that would be something that staff should be reviewing, if that's a material you're open to, if that would go to the board. And so again, that we can kind of learn what your preferences are, what best practices are as building materials evolve. So just wanted to seek your feedback.
It's supposed to look like slate?
No, I apologize, wood shake. And if anyone
Wood
has...
shake, okay.
I misspoke, that was my fault.
Does it come in like a more matte color?
I'm not aware of that. I would have to do more research.
Yeah, it's just a little shiny.
It's shiny, yeah.
It does, though. Okay. Yeah, I would imagine it does. And if that's a possibility, okay.
Frederic, I have a question about the hardscape.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to move on so quickly from that.
No, that's okay. Is it appropriate to bring that up now?
Sure.
I was just curious why staff didn't underline the word landscaping.
Because I think the feedback or the question was, do you have purview over hardscape, was the request of staff last time. And so that was the research we did. And so in terms of landscaping, we certainly have our landscaping code. And we can, I think it was the understanding that our landscape code would still remain in effect, and the board could take a look at, perhaps areas of green space versus a hardscape, but not necessarily down to the level of species and details. That is at least my understanding from the legal department.
Any further questions? Thank you, Frederic, and thank you, Arlene. And welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. And so may I explore that roofing material if it comes in a matte color? Or going back to the roof?
I think I'd have to see it, a little bit
Okay.
more of it. Like
More information on it?
more
Okay.
information.
Okay.
Like even just pictures of properties they've used it on.
Higher?
Yeah,
Okay.
just because I like the texture, and I think it would be a great alternative to shaker roof.
Great, okay. So generally open to it, but want to see more.
I noticed there were some chips on some sections. That might just have been the sample. But if in general, in the production of it, imperfections, very noticeable ones are in there, I don't think that'll look very attractive.
Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you for that feedback. And then the last thing is that next month, we're hoping to present our awards. I know I've already received some nominations that you all have emailed me, but if you have other addresses or sites you want staff to go take photos of, I will explore that, and then we will email them out to you within the next few weeks to make final decisions. So again, but if you have suggestions, please do share those. And that is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move on to remarks by the chairperson. The matters before us this evening are quasi-judicial in nature, which means we base our decisions on competent, substantial evidence that comes before us, and we ask you to please keep this in mind when speaking. For each project, the applicant will have an opportunity to present first. The presentation will be limited to 10 minutes. An additional 5 minutes will be allotted if there is a demolition involved. After the applicant's presentation, staff will make a presentation, and then we'll open it up to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. And after public comment, if the applicant so chooses, they may have a rebuttal. And after the rebuttal, we'll go into executive session where we'll render our decision. To lead into this, we need to let you all know if we've had any conversations outside of this meeting, so we will now declare any ex parte communications.
Yes, as to all matters on tonight's Historic Preservation Board meeting, April 25th, 2023, I, James Murphy, have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on April 25th, 2023, Historic Preservation Board, I, David Burke, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and have not received expert opinions. I request that all these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to matter of tonight's case number 23-17 on 840 Biscayne Drive, I had a conversation with Ms. Midner about it, but I can make my own decisions based on the evidence presented. Related to all the other items on tonight's agenda, I gave Charslapsky, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I, Amanda Skyer, have had ex parte communications with Ms. Mittner regarding these items, and I have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to the matter of 214 Monroe Drive, case number 23-18, I, Kristen Kellogg, have received written communications from the applicant in the form of an email with schematics. As to the matter of the other items on tonight's agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As a matter, as a matter of the items on this evening's agenda, I, Daniel Pickney, have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. Pardon me. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to the matter of tonight's agenda, I, Ken Breslauer, had email communications with Ms. Mittner regarding case 23-16. Otherwise, regarding all other items on the agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to matters of all on tonight's agenda, I, Todd McLean, have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. We now move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on an item not on the agenda? If so, now is the time to do so. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the swearing in of our speakers. If you could please rise and raise your right hand if you plan to speak, to be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Please be seated. We have one consent case on tonight's agenda. Can we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve consent case number 23-17 for 840 Biscayne Drive.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. If your case number 23-17, 840 Biscayne Drive, your case has been approved. Our first continued case is case number 22-112, 520 Avernier Street. And 610. We'll do both at the same time.
Thank you. The applicant is here to provide an update for you per the condition of the board case. I will just pull their presentation up.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Polly. I'm here representing 520 Avernier Street and 610 for the relocation of these buildings to 906th Street. We came before you in December and requested to relocate, which was approved with the conditions of these three conditions. The one that we wanted to talk to you tonight about is the condition to do a contract outlining the timeframe and rehabilitation of the future sale and rental of the affordable housing, which we were required to do by May 1st. We are asking for an extension from May 1st to August 1st. We do have the CRA here tonight. We have been in discussions. We have brought Frederic and other staff to the houses to talk about the level of rehabilitation. We did that last week. And let's see. So just the background, we were here December 21st, again, for approval. The first condition was that the structures be designated as historic. The second one was that we send out mailers about the relocation and the route and the timing of that. And the third condition was this contract outlining the time frame and rehabilitation. Again, we're asking for a 90-day extension. And the fourth condition was that we did a maintenance plan, which we aren't in compliance on. We submitted that, I believe it was February 1st, but it outlined the security of both properties, where they are now and where they're being relocated, and the maintenance. And part of this, there's some, anyways. So that's it. We're just asking for an extension. Thank you.
Questions? Okay, seeing none.
So staff actually doesn't have a presentation. Again, it was incumbent on the applicant to provide you an update. And I have visited the site. They are in good condition. They are secured. And with continued coordination with the CRA, we do have Gina Baker representing the CRA here. And she can state their commitment that they're going to be on, I believe, the July agenda for execution of their agreement.
Thank you. Good evening, Board, Chair, and members of the Board. I'm Gina Baker, the Project Manager for the Historic Northwest, which is where these two beautiful homes will have their final resting place. I'd like to state for the record that we are in full support of receiving these homes, and we're working with HCD to hopefully put these homes on the roster for first look. And that basically means is that the city employees may have an opportunity to purchase these homes. So we do hope that you would approve their extension, and we will hopefully see 2 new beautiful historic homes there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any members of the public wish to comment on this case? Okay, can we have a motion to approve the extension?
I move to approve the requested extension for case number 22-112 and case number 22-113.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next continued case is 23-16, 262 Cordova Road.
So again, it's one of these. Yeah, move it over. And then you can just scroll through it. I don't know. How do you do it? Can you collapse? You want me to do it? Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for having me back so I can present to you some of the things we've addressed based on the comments from our last meeting. So this is the Whitmore residence at 262 Cordova. How do I click that forward?
You would just scroll down.
No? Okay. This right here?
Or you can do this.
Okay. No, that goes, no. So what did you do again? Just
So you have to use the screen as your,
write that one?
nope, go to the right and down.
That one.
Nope. You
I'm
just kinda
sorry.
You just use this as your cursor.
Gotcha. All righty.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. So again, this is 262 Cordova. And the background information, some of this will be a little redundant, but I want to make sure I'm clear in what we took into consideration. So this is a contributing structure in El Cid, a single-family residence built in 1936. We did look into the historical record based on staff's comments last meeting, and just to confirm, this is a building that's in the Monterey style. Now, in the historical record, we did look into the Sanborn map, and there is a record of the structure there, say from 1952. And it does indicate that there is an addition to the side. It shows it as open but roofed. And then in the green card from the city, there is also a record of the accessory building, which we didn't talk too much about last week, but last time, but it is a 2-story structure, and this is from 1962. And then relative to the Monterey style, this right here is an example that's in West Palm Beach. This here is an example based on one of the committee members who referenced the one in Palm Beach. And so this certainly is the style of the building that we're dealing with. And I just wanted to take note that in the Secretary Standards of Historic Preservation, that the new addition, the goal was to have it in keeping in size and scale, but for it to be distinctly separate from the historic building. Then this is, from last time I added a little more information on the site considerations. And so some of the things that I looked at, let's see, can I, yeah, it doesn't quite fill it up. Yeah, it doesn't quite fill it.
If you want to enlarge it, you can do this.
No, go back. So the addition here is located within the by right setbacks based on the zoning code and the historic district standards, where we have a 10-foot setback from the facade, and there is a 15-foot side yard setback. So that dictates where we can build. That part of the program is to provide the owner with an enclosed one-car garage. There's not enough width in this setback for a side-loading garage, and so therefore we are proposing the front-load garage. Part of the program is also to expand the second floor. And then in consideration, this two-story structure, we are looking at having it attached to the historic building where there is a two-story portion. When we get to this point right here, it goes back down to a single story with a little butt out for the kitchen. With that in mind, we wanted to maintain the light and view from the window in the kitchen. And then the last point that I wanted to make is that the accessory structure is located here. It is 2 stories, and it's approximately 960 square feet, which is about the maximum of what we are allowed to have as an accessory structure. So we can't do a detached garage due to the fact that we're just about at the limit of the accessory structure. And then I'm going to go down. I wanted to also talk about context first before I come to the plans. So in context, I wanted to point out that the addition is set back in front of all of the buildings on the street in close proximity. And that I also wanted to point out that this property here does have a front door and a 2-car garage, as well as the property across the street. And again, in with the context, I wanted to highlight that this is the one property on the north side of Cordova with the front door and the garage, and it's just catty corner to this lot. And this is the other one that was pointed out with the front door and a 2-car garage, which is just 2 lots away. And then in line with Cordova on the north side, this is the neighbor, and I wanted to point out just in the build out of the lots is the Cordova lot, the 262, we have a 24-foot wide historic building on a 75-foot wide lot. The other properties tend to build full width of their lot. They go from setback to setback. So I just want to point that out, that as we're growing, that it's in keeping with how the other lots are filling up or have filled up from setback to setback. So then going back to taking in your comments, what we've done here is what we've proposed. We haven't moved the addition, but I did want to point out where our access points are relative to the historic portion, and that with the preferred solution from the owner, we do have the 1-car garage here, and it leaves some room for some additional planting area in the front. Elevation-wise, again, I want to point out that here in this section is that this addition is positioned specifically so that we can take advantage of access. On the 2nd floor, there's a window here that we're going to open up on the historic portion to gain access, and then there's a door on the 1st floor that we're going to use to open up to gain access to the garage. So we're trying to be very mindful of the historic building and where we touch it and how we connect to it. In elevation, the things that we have done, taking into account the board's comments, is that we have put smaller windows on the front facade. They're 6/6 and added shutters. We've changed the garage door to match the style of the door that's there, which is a panel door with a lattice panels on top. That we have introduced an eyebrow roof in lieu of the pergola that was there before. And we've also introduced a two-part elevation where we have the smooth stucco on top and the horizontal siding on the base. Now, having said that, this is the preferred solution from the owner, but I have done a study at an alternative. And that one here just takes into account that we keep the attached roofed structure and incorporate it into the garage portion. It shows it where it's located here, and then elevation-wise, we come in and it's here, we remodel the enclosure so we have a window instead of a garage door. But we keep that piece, and then the addition is behind that. And all of the points that we have before still apply. We would do the smaller 6/6 windows and the shutters in the two-part facade materials. So that is what we're proposing.
Questions of the applicant?
Yes, thank you. Is your garage door on option 1 drawn correctly? It just seems a little small in terms of when I compare it to the site plan. And also looking at wall to window ratio, I think it just might, the garage door might have a greater presence in elevation than it's being depicted. I don't know if anyone else notices that. It seems very diminutive.
So the proposed garage door,
10 feet wide.
yeah, is 10 feet wide. And I think that the current garage door is 8 feet wide, so that might be part of the difference. I might have just pulled it over.
Mhm. And in both instances, they're proposed as, I think I asked this last time, swing or pivot up?
Well, we initially wanted to have a impact door that pivots up, but if we need to build it so they swing out, we'll do that. That is what the current structure has.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Frederic Mentner presenting continued case 23-16 for 262 Cordova Road. This case was continued by the board for additional research and design exploration on the request for demolition and modifications of the carport and a new 2-story garage and living space. The subject property is on the south side of Cordova Road. It's a 1936 contributing Monterey style in the El Cid Historic District. And as you can see from the aerial, and as the applicant indicated, it is a much narrower home than the other surrounding properties that are also historically contributing, but in a different architectural style. So this piece is the subject here. Again, the streetscape and kind of the massing of what's surrounding the subject property and some additional photographs that were supplied. And so the research with, thanks to assistance by others, the Sanborn map from 1952 does show the structure here. What's interesting is actually it was on the 50-foot lot at the time. It did not include the 75-foot wide lot it is on currently. The neighboring property owner and this property have split this lot and shared it. They got 25 feet. I don't know at what time period that happened, but this vacant lot is now part of either side. So this home originally was situated on a 50-foot wide lot, and the way the Sanborn maps typically read is if there is a dashed line, it is an open air roofed structure. So we definitely know it wasn't in this location, so I thank the board for remanding this back and asking for additional research. So it existed. It was open, just like the balcony was in the front. It was in this location on the side and at the rear. And the 1962 green card also shows it in this location. The documentation we are not able to find was that front facade there. We know there was a roof and it was open air, which it still is on the side and the rear, but we don't know, did the siding continue all the way across, and did it have that carriage door, and was it part of the original 1936 construction? We don't have that information. Again, it existed in 1952 and it was a roof and it was open, but was it open on just the two sides or was it open on three sides? Again, that's something we're not sure of. So the applicant did go back and take the board's directions as she indicated. There is not the possibility of adding more to the accessory structure because again, it's already 1,000 square feet, so building a second detached structure is not an option. And actually, I'm going to go back to the green card. On the green card, what was also interesting, this was never a garage in the back. It was always or at least in 1962, it was a duplex back here.
So the A doesn't mean automobile on the Sanborn map?
No, that my understanding it is not.
That's
that is an
accessory? Okay.
Yes. And so in 1962, we have the uses that are listed. So building 2 is a duplex. It has a downstairs and upstairs unit. And so no, there was no automobile use in that rear structure. And again, currently the zoning code would not allow them to build a additional detached accessory structure and additional square footage. The applicant also provided additional photographs of the backyard, the green space, the tree, and that accessory. And then provided 2 different proposals, as she explained, modifying the garage door based on an example that was provided. I also took a look at the properties on Palm Beach and Sanford. Pendleton has actually a lot of examples as well of the Monterey style with these 2-story wings. And then this would, again, as she indicated, is the 1-car garage with the additional bedroom upstairs. And then exploring that second option, which leaves that front space. It does convert it from a door to a window, but you can still have that shed roof here, and then the 2-story volume behind it. And so in reviewing the proposals, the 2 options, I think it achieves the program that the applicant is looking for, plus retains the original element. You can read it, and so staff, in reviewing the compatibility criteria and the Secretary of Interior standards, we do believe option 2 meets everything that the board was looking for, and again, what the applicant requested as well. So that is our recommendation this evening. Thank you.
Questions of staff? Were we provided any images of the accessory structure?
There should have been some in the packet, and specifically on the side of option 1 here. And I can zoom in on this slide here, but it should have been a part of the packet as well. I don't know what page it would have been on.
You would know better than I, but I always thought on Sanborn maps that the A meant automobile and connoted a garage.
I can go back. I thought it was accessory, but again, 10 years later, it was definitely not.
Yeah.
Because our green cards very specifically say garage, or say garage plus apartment, and that is always, because it was used for tax purposes, they were very clear on that for the uses, and it was a duplex at that point. Again, that is 10 years later, but, and I can see if I can zoom in on this.
And what is the D?
I'm sorry, the D?
The D, I think it's a D on the
The
same-
dwelling unit.
Yeah.
Dwelling, so
Primary.
on, like on the corner of Cordova, it has 294, and then it has D for the pink building, and then, like the accessory,
A
it
for
says
the-
D and then A.
Right.
And then if you look at the corner of Granada and South Flagler, the accessory says D and A.
Yeah,
It
a bunch
does.
of those do right
That's
there.
true.
Yes.
Yes, it does. You're right. Then I could be mistaken. It was my understanding it was accessory, but happy to stand corrected on that. If anyone else who has done Sanborn map research has any more information on the A legend, I'm happy. Anne just looked it up. You are correct. It usually did stand for automobile.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the evolution of the property.
Yes, thank you.
And I feel like the images we were provided doesn't really show the building well enough to determine if there was a garage opening at one point.
Yeah, I would imagine it's definitely gone by now, even if it
Yeah.
existed based on the 1952. Right.
And have we ever approved an attached garage on a property like this?
To say ever, I don't know.
I know that's pretty broad. I can't think of a time. It's usually one or the other. It's it's the accessory structure is a garage with a guest house above, or it's converted and there is no garage. I guess my concern is, I understand the property owner's program, but I think they understood what this property was and what it was when they purchased it. And now I feel that we're being asked to consider something that I don't think is appropriate, given that they don't have a space to build a detached garage, which is really what would be appropriate for a house of this period. I know I'm giving my opinion a little soon.
No,
but-
and I completely respect that, and I am not here to make the case for the applicant. I just, in my research, I did see a lot of examples, again, on Palm Beach, on the island, that this is how they have attached in a garage on the Monterey homes, especially on Pendleton. There were at least 3 or 4 examples there. That doesn't mean that's the accurate or correct solution.
Also, unfortunately, not a historic
No,
district.
it's not, right?
And at what point is something considered to have acquired significance in its own right?
Usually that is its own 50 years, and the hard part is the roof definitely is, the carport definitely is. We don't know about the facade. Was it completely open? Did it have that lovely carriage style? I don't know.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any members of the public that wish to comment on this project? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into executive session.
My concern still remains from before. I think that the evidence presented tonight just confirms what I felt last time, which is, there is evidence that shows that this carport was there. It is a character-defining feature. I don't think we can just guess one way and say, well, maybe it wasn't, and take away part of the tremendous charm of this house. And when I'm reviewing the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, there's so many of these that would go against taking off that carport element. So for just that reason, not even looking at everything else, I wouldn't be able to support the project as proposed. I'd actually say for the first, the first 5 standards, it goes against.
Do you think there's a way to achieve an addition in that location while maintaining that feature? Or do you think the addition would need another location? Because I think it's important that it's clear that we're not trying to deny the property owner the additional space that they need and want.
Right. I think that you can still do an addition. It just needs to be pushed behind that mass. You have to preserve the character defining features of the property. There's record that a carport was there. And to your point, there's already an accessory structure. We know it was, now we know that it was for automobile use at some point in time. I mean, if they're reworking the program, they can, I don't have enough information, but they could still put the garage back where it was and use the rest of this as interior space that's pushed behind the carport. I mean, there's a lot of creative solutions for solving this that don't take away this element of the historic home.
I tend to agree with Kristen. I'm more interested in option 2 of the 2 options. But if I'm reading the plans correctly, it seems as though the retention of the carport is not really being retained. It's expanded, and for whatever confirmation or not that those swing doors are original, they certainly are kind of now character defining for that house from the front facade. So I'm more interested in seeing that in option 2, but the same geometry retained in terms of the footprint and the door opening, even if it's just a fake door instead of that window that they propose. And then to the matter at hand, I personally am not averse to the front forward-facing garage addition, just as an outright principle. I think that it can be done relatively sensitively, and I think that option 2 begins to explore that.
So I really like option 2. There's a couple reasons. I think it pays respect to the existing home. If you were to add an addition to this house, it'd probably look just like option 2 without the front-facing garage. So I still think even with an addition, we're still going to see that setback building. I like option 2 because you can still see the carport that we were discussing, but I agree with Mr. Murphy. I think that window should be, whether it's a fake door or working doors, should go back to what we're seeing existing. And I would add an arch over the proposed single garage door. I think option 2 could work with a few tweaks. Because I think even with an addition, as Kristen has proposed, we're still going to see this. I like how the slope roof separates the massing, which we were all concerned of this new addition, and it does pay respect to the existing home. So, and I love the addition of the shutters. I would just add more to the existing home.
So James and Todd, just to understand, you're suggesting that there would be 2 garage doors next to each other? I guess my concern is that just completely changes, I don't know. I think it makes this house something that it's not.
Even with the additional setback? 'Cause it's not flush, right? It's the garage addition, the 2-story addition is set back further. The 1-story retention would be, right? That's just the 1-story portion. I'm reading that correctly, yeah. But I'm certainly respectful of precedent and what you've mentioned as longstanding members of this commission, that this would be something, at least to your general recollection, new, an addition that's front-facing. But I fall on kind of with Todd that it's the right area for an addition, and if placed back before the 1-story, it seems like the appropriate location. It's subservient in size, it's set back. It's now, option 2 is retaining the addition, which has taken on a character-defining significance because of its age. The fact that the use is a garage doesn't outright turn me off.
Frederic, what is the distance from this carport to that west side of the property line? I'm having a little difficulty with my computer, so I'm just trying to imagine a side-facing, further back addition, if that's even possible, because you need at
You're
least
asking
28
the
feet.
existing to
Yeah,
the
so from
side
the
property
carport that
line?
we're talking about.
I will get a bigger set of plans to tell you that. 1 second.
Todd, sheet A01 shows the building envelope with the 15-foot setback and the existing outline of the carport. So,
It's approximately 25 feet because, as Mr. Murphy said, the 15-foot side setback is dimensioned, but not exactly up to that
Okay,
space. So it's about 25 feet.
okay, thank you.
We haven't heard from you yet, Gabe.
I agree with all what is being said. I like to preserve that carport, but I don't know. I mean, if they can make an addition without taking the back of it, but I agree with what Christy is saying and with James also.
The front-facing garage that I can remember approving, we approved because there was no other location for it on the property. And there certainly wasn't an accessory structure on the property that had been noted as having this use previously. So to me, given that it's not something that we've typically done, I don't see the rationale behind approving something like this when there's not just another way that it could be done, but a way that it had been used on the site. And I mean, that's the way that the site was originally intended to be used. So, I mean, I cannot support a front-facing garage given that there's another place to put it.
I feel the same.
And I think there's a lot of projects and clients that would want to push garages forward on a property like this, and we've really held fast and not allowed it. I mean, I know it's something that Ms. Mittner works to make sure they don't come before us usually, but it really changes the character of the neighborhood, and it's something that's very indicative of this pattern of development and the period of significance for this district.
Well, and I'm thinking of all the times that people wanted attached garages, and we asked them to look elsewhere on their property.
Exactly.
In this neighborhood, I can think of two off the top of my head in recent years that we've approved, and they built side loading garages that were separate structures.
You know, just playing devil's advocate, technically, it's already an existing carport-facing facility. So it's already there. Does the geometry of what's existing, can a car fit there? Like, is that a functioning vehicular storage area? Probably not for that SUV.
Not for the one in the picture.
Yeah, not the
I
one
would
in the
doubt
picture.
We're working on a similar, it's not the exact style home, but it's similar. And I can say for certain that the carport is not functional from that standpoint. I think it still has a use, but yeah, that SUV is certainly not going through it.
I don't think a side-facing garage is gonna fit on this property without it going almost right behind the main house where the pool deck is. You have a 3-foot hardscape setback from the side, plus you need at least 28 feet behind the garage entry to back out and then turn so that you can face the car out. So I don't think this property has the room to do what we're asking them to do.
And to be clear, I'm not asking them to do that. I'm saying that the automobile garage was placed at the rear of the structure to have that circulation space.
Okay.
So they already solved this problem.
Yeah, and the properties where we approved that, they were larger lots. And so they got to keep their converted accessory structure that used to be a garage and build a new garage. And this lot doesn't allow them to have everything because it's a historic structure. And I think that's the reality of when you purchase these homes, is there is some limitations.
And we're not saying no addition.
No, it's not the addition.
We're more than happy, to work with the applicant to accomplish an addition with program. I think you can still accommodate the same program. It's just doing it in a way that's more sensitive to the historic structure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the accessory completely meets the required side setback for a side-facing garage, because it is, the way it's positioned, it's probably how it was. So, the stairs would have to get moved.
And I would rather see stairs modified than
Yeah.
a character defining feature that
Agree with
faces
you.
the street.
So are you, in theory, the massing and the bulk of option 2 is, in terms of a location, is okay, but it's the garage door?
For me, yes, and the retention in full of the carport.
So if we're looking at option 2, flipping the window in the garage door, or what do you envision there?
That could certainly work. I mean, I know specifically the precedents that Ms. Mittner is referring to on Pendleton. We have a project on Pendleton. And I think, you know, the way that it's pushed back and the massing is successful, it's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's these other points that we're talking about that are important.
There's still a few people that haven't weighed in. Now's your chance.
I think perhaps swapping the garage door and the window accomplishes retaining some of the characteristics of the original carport, and then sort of weighing the interests of the functionality of the carport in its current state and the, I guess, with modern vehicles. And we don't know for sure, at least we know it goes back to the 52, if I recall correctly, but it's still, we don't know if it's an original part of the structure, so it's almost accomplishing both things, the interests of the homeowner while maintaining that charm, rotating the window and the door from option 2. So accomplishing both in a sensible fashion, in my opinion.
So do you envision changing the size of that opening of the existing carport? Or I think what I meant when I said that is to basically keep the carport as is, but, and in place of those garage doors, put a window there. I don't know, but I'm not an architect. Could be different options, many different options. What could go there?
Well, I would only support the garage doors staying as they are, because, I mean, we know it's from 50, so what, we're nearly 75 years later at this point. That certainly hits the mark of the 50-year milestone, and again, regardless, having acquired significance over time. So I think that without a doubt that carport is historic, contributing, whatnot, no matter how you slice it. It's just the unknown of, you know, that front door. And again, what I'm saying is, we don't know that it wasn't there. And so why would we pull it? You know, what is clearly one of the most charming elements of the house? Why would we even mess with that? So going back to what you were saying, I think, Mr. Murphy, about if you just swap those two elements more or less, like that you have the window, and then for me, the original garage door opening, I would support that.
But that's removing the functional new garage.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with that is that if we are considering that the carport historic was part of the original structure, it's just an exterior space and will be converted to an interior space. So they're going to be completely redoing it. So I don't know that we have ever done something like that in a historic house like this.
That's a good point.
You mean converting a carport to an enclosed space?
Yeah, I don't know that we have done that before, because the carport is right now is flimsy wood structure, right? And in order to do this,
Ms.
we have to
Mittner,
demolish it
just
and
Ms. Mittner wants us to know that we have.
Yes, you have approved enclosure of carports before. And even with adding garage doors, usually they're set back inset a little bit when you've added the garage doors and you've enclosed the sides and back. Not for Monterey style, but you have them in other buildings.
So is there a possibility of having conditions to address an approval, or is this something that we need to see come back?
I mean, I think it might be more of a question for the applicant, given the feedback, if the functional garage door, like if they want to incorporate changes to the accessory structure to obtain a functional garage space, I think we need to know from them if that's.
Yeah. I mean, that, to me, that just changes the whole footprint of the ground floor. It's no longer needs to be that spacious, it no longer needs to be that geometry, it no longer needs to be at that elevation, it no longer needs to be. So perhaps we push to further explore another location for a garage? I mean, because my original suggestion was not the swapping. I was okay with having the
Two
garage,
doors.
just for the record. But I'm hearing the favor of the commission is not in alignment with that.
So I guess we'll ask, I know the owners aren't here, but based on what you've heard, what would you like to do?
If there's any way we can put conditions to move forward, that would be something we would like to do. However, I do want to put in the comment about actually relocating the garage to the back of the lot. The owner probably will not do that because it gives up their green space. It gives up the use of the exterior space that they currently have. And I do understand the importance in a historic district of trying to save and keep the fabric that is there. What we're talking about now, or at least what I'm hearing the board coming back with, is can we like rewind and go back and put something back that was either taken away or redone. I don't think that the owner will park a car in the back. They just won't. They don't want to give up their lot. They have beautiful landscaping. It's green space. They want to keep it. If the approach was that you think it is really important to maintain the attached shed structure that has these doors on it, which we can't confirm were ever there to begin with, but we can't confirm they were not, then I think that we could work with that to say, let's work with those doors. Obviously, with the way the cars are built today and with the way people live today, parking in there is a challenge. I think the owner said that he has parked a sports car in there, but he can't put his SUV in there. So if he can't have the second garage door, we can't go in from the side. Maybe if we have to swap it, I can go back and figure out, well, what do we do with that space when we reallocate it if you can't have the two garage doors? I think we would be open to looking into that. But I think the owners love their house, they love the district, but to put their vehicle in the back and restructuring, I think they would abandon that. They would. Whether they would do an addition without a garage, I don't know. They do need to expand their living space. It is a modest home. It is modest in size, modest in scale. It's on an oversized lot now for its width. So I think growing the structure and growing the volume gives it more substance with all the other structures on that street, which is a good thing. So So I don't know if that clarifies or confuses, but I think that we would be open to some options with what we have proposed. But going into the back probably would be abandoned with a garage. Because we couldn't achieve the second floor growth and the garage. If the garage is in the back, the second floor no longer stacks. So, don't know if there's any other clarification that I can make.
Well, I assume you could add a second floor addition on a different location and still achieve parking in the back, but I understand that
No,
we're not going to-
yeah, I think if you want to redo anything, but the thing that is challenging for this particular project is that the house is modest in size, and it has a two-story piece, and then it has a one-story piece. So as you're trying to attach to it, it's tricky. And what we've done here is I've tried to be very mindful of where we connect, so we do not cut out, open up, take away the original two-story piece. We come through where there was a door, we come through where there was a window. So if we start pushing it back or putting it around the corner or putting it back, then that requires other modifications to the original historic piece, which is something I think we've been trying to be mindful of.
Any questions of the applicant while you have a chance? I'm not sure.
Okay, if moving the garage to the back is in fact off the table, what can you offer us right now, based on what you've heard board members discuss, that would solve the issue and satisfy everyone so we could move on with this?
Well, having to allow for the owner to weigh in, if there is a condition of approval, if that's really what we're trying to get to, I think if we swap the door and the window, we keep the door of the original one and put a window in. I'm not quite sure how that translate for being a true garage, because that's the way the plan is. But if we could swap out where we kept just the one garage door, prefer two, but just the one that's original, and it's not even a garage door, it's the original piece, and then put something else on the other side that is not a garage door, that we could look at maybe proceeding with that. That would probably mean reevaluating the internal piece of the first floor. I don't know what the answer to that would be. We'd have to spend some time looking at that. But I think that would be something I think the owner would maybe entertain. I could advise them.
So, are you amenable to a continuance then, to work this out?
If we need to continue, we will, but if there's a way we could do it, so there's something that we mutually agree upon, whether it's restrictions with the staff to review with her understanding of what your intention is, that would probably be preferred if we're even that close. I don't know, are we far apart, or are we close, or?
Well, I'm not sure myself, but it seems as if it's going to be one or the other. It's either, you'll have to come up with something on the spot that the board can agree with, or if it's going to be more complicated, it'd have to be continuous. And then we'll go through this whole procedure all over again.
I mean, I know what I would like in terms of I would like further refinement of the proposal that I mentioned, seeing the carport drawn to scale, the existing conditions, the extent of the demolition. Looking at option 2, I think you're changing the geometry of the carport from a rectangle to a square, so I have concerns about that. I had envisioned a true retention of that element and the two-story massing occurring after that. So I would like to see the drawings reflect that and the retention or replication of the existing swing doors on that one-story piece, and the new garage door shown as option as window and option as new garage, and how that geometry plays with the existing garage swing doors. That's something I would like to see to further confirm my stance on the project.
I agree. So I'd like to make a motion to continue the case. I motion to continue case number 23-16-262 Cordova Road to next month's Historic Preservation Board meeting. And that date is, what is the date of next month's meeting?
May 20, oh, sorry.
May 23rd, 2023.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Entering into new business, case number 23-19, 816 Park Place.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. I'm here as a representative for LCA Architecture on behalf of 816 Park Place. It is an existing historic residence of Flamingo Park Historic District with a lot size just shy of 9,400 square feet. Sorry. We are proposing an addition of 994 square feet to the west side of the home, which includes a one-car garage as well as some general site work, which can be seen on the site plan. The addition and all accompanying changes will reflect the same qualities as the existing home in appearance and will blend seamlessly into the Flamingo Park landscape as we decided to implement attributes of neighboring homes in the district. Also, I've included some homes with similar characteristics of the Flamingo Park district, which we are attempting to attain for 816 Park Place. This is the area in which we plan on expanding the west side of the home. These are the other facades of the home. And these are the other homes with similar characteristics in which we are attempting to implement. Some of the design considerations we have made are a 10-foot setback from the existing front facade. This helps delineate the existing home from the new addition. An arched opening of the addition scene has been utilized for the garage entryway, creating a carport-like condition for the garage beyond. The decorative doorway molding has been applied to accentuate the entry. A parapet wall has been utilized to tie in the existing roof line to the addition without taking attention away from the unique characteristics of the existing home. Also, we have implemented clay scuppers and casement windows that we have replicated on the addition to maintain a unified visual transition of the existing home versus the new addition. Here are some colored elevations. We feel that the design criteria and lot size make the addition a good fit for the home, and it meshes well into the neighborhood overall. We also have a glass enclosure, which has the possibility of transitioning to an open air space with columns and structural walls rather than glass. Being that this space is not in view from the front elevation or the street, it will be further discussed at a later time.
Was that the end of your presentation? Okay. Do we have any questions of the applicant?
I'll ask a question my colleague usually answers. There are 6 conditions for approval. Are you familiar with all the conditions, and does the applicant agree to those conditions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are your garage doors swing or pivot? Are they a solid panel that goes up, or are they individual?
It will be a solid panel that goes up.
kind of a tough case to follow after the last one.
I was like, how does this happen? Back to back.
I will mention that the existing garage is not functional, so if that helps answer any questions that are coming.
But your drawings claim it is functional. You're calling it an existing garage.
Yes, but the size of the opening doesn't
Can't,
allow for entry, yes.
but that would still be envisioned as an operable door?
Yes.
I think my comments are about the same as last time. I mean, it's another property, just looking at the survey. I mean, I feel like there is another way to make it less visible. I'm struggling to word it differently than we just did, but I would like to see the case continued for the exact same reasons.
I mean, I think this is an opportunity to fix a poorly designed addition.
And what Mr. Murphy was talking about before with the last project, with the massing of it, you essentially now created like an addition that replicates the mass of the primary portion of the home, and so you're not giving, the massing of it doesn't work because you've created like two equal portions. The garage space just overwhelms the structure.
Any further questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Good evening. Ann Hamilton presenting case number 23-19 for additions and alterations at 816 Park Place. The subject property is in the Flamingo Park Historic District along the south side of Park Place, the third lot in from Parker Avenue. Here's a photo of the existing site that was taken recently, and here's a historic photo that was probably from sometime in the 50s of what the home looked like. The request is to add an addition of 994 square feet to the west side of the home, including a one-car garage and general site work. As you can see on the site plan here, the garage is set back from the existing garage, and as you can see on the floor plan, they are proposing to add an enclosed glass patio on the east side of the residence as well. Most of the addition is set towards the back. Here's the north elevation, the front. They are proposing to add a decorative surround around the door. The west elevation, the south elevation, the east elevation showing that glass enclosure, and the window and door schedules. One of the conditions in the staff report is that this decorative entry feature is removed. While it does look very nice, we believe that it's a bit conjectural, and so we'd prefer to see a door more in line with what is currently existing. In terms of the discussion that's been had already tonight regarding front-facing garage, this is a next-door neighbor to this property, which has an addition with 2 front-facing garage doors. That's why we had been open to supporting it. However, based on the discussion from earlier, it seems the board is not in favor. We believe that it meets all applicable codes and standards 9 and 10, and are recommending approval with these 6 conditions. Thank you.
Questions of staff?
Do you know what year the addition next door was approved?
I don't know exactly. Based on the green card, I did check the green card for the next door house. It looked like one of the garage enclosures was there in the 1960s. The second one, I don't know when that was added.
So quite a while ago,
yes.
at least for the first.
Mhm.
Can you put up the historic postcard again? Was that in our, I don't know if that was in our, that's so great. I wish that existed for every house.
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing.
Those doors are amazing.
mhm.
And it's interesting, there's not that additional little shed roof that it has now.
Mhm.
And the garage was original from your findings?
We believe it was an addition at some point. Probably doesn't date to 1925, but certainly has gained significance.
Do you think it would be reasonable to add as a condition of approval that they change the opening of this to replicate the historic image?
I mean, I would certainly be open to that. I do really like the style of the door in this image. You know, I think that would be a nice touch.
Was this in the city's records?
This photo actually came from the real estate listing for the house.
Can it be put in the city's records?
Yes, yeah, we've already saved it to the file for this house.
Too bad we can't control paint color.
I may have to amend my disclosure. I actually went to this site when it was for sale a bit ago. It's extremely small property, in terms of enclosed space, and needs a lot of TLC.
Is there a possibility that the work next door to do the twin garages was done without board approval?
If I had to guess, it was. It seems to date probably to before it became a historic district. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, so that would, to me, that would be important. That would say that you can't use it as an example.
Yeah, I can understand that argument as well.
At a minimum, it was approved or built under very different circumstances.
Any further questions of staff? Thank you. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into executive session.
It's such a charming home, but, you know, just to put it very plainly, the design looks plain wrong. It doesn't seem in keeping with the architecture, the existing architecture. I think that work needs to be done here.
In my mind, this definitely needs a continuance, but I think there's a lot of areas that we need to provide direction on.
Well, I would think that regardless of where we land on any future addition, that we condition it that the front facade is restored as closely as possible to any existing historic photographs or documentation, including the panel garage door. And I think the dual garage in this instance detracts from the architecture more than the prior, and I know it's not fair that we compare the two, but because the addition is attempting to be so seamless to the existing and not subservient like we saw in the Monterey style home. And I think that greater exploration needs to occur in terms of what's visible from the primary right-of-way in terms of that garage. And this may be exploration of a detached garage elsewhere on the site. They seem to have the space and not an existing, there isn't an existing accessory structure, at least not depicted on the site plan.
The structure on the same block, the question is that a two-car garage or is that two separate garages? And it appears in what's trying to be accomplished here at 816 is, you know, two separate garages. But it's definitely welcomed improvement to a prominent street that leads into, you know, a prominent thoroughfare.
No, it is exciting to see the reinvestment happening on the street. That house on the corner of Parker and Park was almost a demo by neglect, but now it's a beautiful house. It's exciting that this is going to be restored.
Is it possible that that original garage could just be made into a living space, and you know, have the you know, the original restoration of the door there, just as facade, and then have the actual garage either be, you know, detached and moved back or something in that order to be a functioning garage?
I think so.
Yeah.
So does the new addition need to be completely behind this garage in terms of the location of the addition, just to make sure that we give sufficient direction?
Well, I think it makes sense, just given the floor plan that they're already working with, that it would be easy to modify the existing proposed floor plan to remove the garage from the additional garage from that location, and shift it to an accessory structure.
So what would be in that space? Would that be a void? You would start the addition further back, or would you use that as a...
I mean, I would start the addition at the end of the existing garage, and then you just have a clear block of addition that's easy to build. But I think that that's in keeping with the spirit of what they're proposing, but I would like, I mean, the architect can certainly study it. I think it makes sense to see if you can like skinny up the massing a little bit so you're not dealing with two equal masses. I mean, I think it will read differently because they're not on the same plane like it does just straight in elevation, but I think it would be worth having some kind of a massing model to just explore how that actually feels.
I kind of have a completely different thought on this whole project. Looking at the floor plan, if I were going to live in this house, I would have to live in the front yard basically, because there's really no rooms that open up to this larger lot. So I think there's an opportunity to really look at the existing and possibly put the additions on the east side with maybe a garage side facing, and try to open the house up to maybe a little center backyard or something. But right now, your living room's in the front yard, your kitchen's almost in the front yard, and the entire back of this house is all bedrooms that really don't, you can't really appreciate the amount of yard that this property has. So I think there's a whole different way of looking at doing an addition and possibly a side-facing garage, because they do have enough space on the west side to do it. To create a little courtyard home without touching the front of this house at all. I mean, it's a completely restudy, but I think it's possible to take this idea and scrap it and start anew with a whole new thought. And I think I would lend towards continuing this case as well.
So regardless, we would want to see the historic front elevation restored as much as possible according to the photo, and the addition to be pushed back.
Correct.
In
However,
whichever way.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any further comments, or would someone like to make a motion to continue?
I'd like to make a motion to continue case number 2319.
Second.
You have to add the date, please.
To
May
sorry,
23rd.
to the May 23rd meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is case number 23-20, 930 34th Street.
Good evening, Board. I would appreciate your consideration for approval for the new construction at 930 34th Street. I am representing myself because I am the builder and owner. It is a single-family home. It is in the same style of all the homes in the area. I am prepared to accept the conditions that were set forth with some clarification, please. That's all I have to say.
Questions of the applicant? All right, thank you. Staff report?
Good evening. Ann Hamilton presenting case number 23-20 for new construction at 930 34th Street. This lot is located in the Northwood Hills neighborhood on the south side of 34th Street. It currently consists of a vacant lot. Here are the two adjacent properties at 924 34th Street and 936 34th Street. Previously, there was a house on this site that was built in 1948 and demolished in 2018 due to neglect, as you can see here. The request is for the construction of a new single-family residence of approximately 2,200 square feet, as seen in the rendering shown here. Here's the proposed site plan, the proposed roof plan, the proposed floor plan, proposed front elevation, side, and rear elevations. Here's a view of the home in the context of the streetscape along 34th Street and a rendering of the project. We believe that it meets all criteria for new construction and are recommending approval with these 7 conditions. Thank you.
And does this area allow for two-story construction?
I think in any of our zoning districts, you can technically do 2-story construction if it meets, zoning standards. I will say that most of the homes in this area are 1-story.
And could you go back to the streetscape?
Do you know what the kind of double fascia. You know, is the elevations on those images are totally different than the rendering that is in page A41. So I don't know what that thick, tall fascia is. So
I believe the applicant provided a material list. So do you just mean the exterior, like, materials, or?
what I'm saying are the roof fascia.
Oh,
If you look at the roof fascia and all the elevations, it looks like too tall.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that is true, and it's not even supported by the detail drawn on sheet A7. So, yeah. So I want clarifications on that, because the rendering shown on sheet A41, the color rendering, the color rendering in sheet A41 is totally different than this one that you are showing us now.
Oh, so the color rendering shown on 4.1 is just meant as a reference image. They do label that way.
Yeah, something is wrong with all this. With the proportion, something is wrong here.
So it'll just be a single.
It will be a single. Yes, that's just a reference picture.
But in the main facade, if you look in the main elevation, the roof fascia is made of like 3 bandings. And I don't know that that is true, and I wouldn't like to see that in this house, so I don't know what that means.
It will not be 3. It will be a single band. Right. Right. It will not be, right. This is just a depiction. This is just for reference only. It will be more like the picture on A00.
I mean, could we put up the slide that accurately shows the elevation?
So you're saying this is the most accurate?
This is the most, yes.
This is it?
Yes.
Yeah, you've got 2 fascia boards. You've got the one in brown, which is very clear, and then you've got another one underneath it, so it just seems real bulky. And I'm having difficulty with my computer, but I'm trying to see other contributing homes in this neighborhood, just from the pictures provided, and I don't see anything similar in this style, including the stucco band that we've made a condition. I certainly agree with the window condition, but this roof pitch seems a little off, especially if you go to the streetscape. It seems a lot higher than the rest of the contributing homes, and those homes that are depicted, some are stucco and siding. I think I'd like to see this continue until the next meeting with some further study and possible photos of the neighborhood, because just from what we're seeing, to me, this doesn't contribute in any way to this neighborhood. I see this house in Lantana all the time. It looks like a spec house to me.
Well, following on that, I appreciate the approach as a one-story structure since the area is predominantly one story. I have some problems with the roof line, the front entrance, the kind of entry feature. I think that's out of character with these more modest one-story homes in the area. I commend you for incorporating a front porch. I think that's great. I think it may be overdone in the front. The columns kind of have a incorrect proportion. They're not holding up so much mass above it, so they're a little thick. And I agree with the staff comments regarding the ornamentation and the windows. I think a study is further continuance is necessary for you to just refine it.
Any further questions of staff? Thank you. Do you have any members of the public that wish to comment on this case? Okay. Is there any further direction we'd like to give the applicant? And do you feel like you have sufficient direction from us?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Just, general refinement of the design and further incorporating it into the neighborhood is generally what I'm getting.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Particularly, I'm hung up on the front door and that entrance feature kind of screaming, I'm the front door, and the other houses on the street don't seem to have that.
Yeah, and are there other bungalow-style homes in this neighborhood? Because it could lend itself to be a little bit more bungalow-style.
No,
okay.
not really.
Mostly like that 1940s, almost Cape Cod-y. Okay.
Something else to consider if you go west and you're on Windsor, that's all exclusively multifamily, and that doesn't typically have any sort of coherent architectural style. It gets a little bit more cohesive when you get on to Eastview and Westview, and some of the homes along in the 900 block of 35th, basically, and all the way through Windsor, you do see a hodgepodge. Something to consider.
I think it's almost there. I think with just a further study and further refinement of the detailing. So do we want to make a motion to continue?
I'd like to make a motion to continue case number 23-20 till May 23rd.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is 2318-214 Monroe Drive.
So again, we have to,
It's just up there.
yeah, it's just up there, and you just use that as your screen. Okay. So
Appreciate
collapse that for you. There you go.
Good evening. Patrick Mayfield with Daly Jensen Architects on behalf of my clients at 214 Monroe Drive. This is a request for an addition and alterations to the existing contributing historic structure. You can see in these existing photographs of the home in its current condition. This is from the street-facing facade. It's a number of elements of the home that is true to the Mission Revival style. It was built in 1925. It's the primary hipped element facing the street that's bifurcated by the chimney. There is a one-story carport that was, we believe, at some point in the last 20 years was enclosed, but this was originally an unenclosed carport condition, which I'll mention later. So this is from the opposite view on the street, and the owners of the property who are here tonight have already done a lot of work to restore and protect the original finishes of this home. They've replaced the aging roof last year with handmade barrel tile and restored all of the eave conditions of the stained cypress outriggers and soffit. They are looking on this project to also maintain and restore the existing wood windows, which the double hung encasements, which you can see occur in combination on the facade. They would like to preserve all of those in their natural aspect on the north street-facing facade. We will be requesting new fenestration doors and windows on the three remaining non-street facing facades, which will be proposing aluminum clad wood windows. You can see in the rear of the parcel there's also an existing contributing two-story accessory, which this is the rear of the main building. You can see here in this image the accessory, which actually does serve as a two-bay garage, which is loaded from the west, and there's a small apartment above that there's an exterior stair that accesses. You can see in the street massing here what we're proposing to do is essentially add to the east. The prevailing style on the street is other two-story homes, all in the Mission Revival style of approximately the same period. So looking at the site plan, what we are proposing to do is add an approximately 700 square foot addition to the east of the structure. We're also proposing to add a small 70 square foot addition to the rear behind this previously enclosed carport. The existing accessory structure will remain as is. We're proposing additionally to include a new pergola at the rear of the home. So you can see in the plan here what we're doing. You can see the poche, the lighter poche being original, and the darker poche giving an idea of where the configuration of the space is changing. We are adding a ground level bedrooms ensuite for sort of an in-law suite. We're also adding some outdoor living space, an open air loggia and fireplace. It's going to face a new pool area. And we've taken the dining space here, which was originally a bit narrow and unusable, and we're actually widening that just a hair and then adding this outdoor pergola. You can see on the second floor, the house is originally 3 bedrooms. We're preserving those 3 bedrooms. We're essentially just enlarging the third and making it a master, if you will, with a open terrace on the front side to step back the 2-story facade from the street about 8 feet. And then the rear portion of the addition, again, will be a covered porch that's private to the master bedroom. You can see here the original roof plan. It's primarily a hip that faces the front street, and then a high parapet condition in the rear of the home. Again, which this has currently all been replaced. The tile work and the roof was redone, brought up to code. There's a small portion of the roof on the east corner here, which you'll be able to see better in the elevation, which is a flat roof, which it's just a wood frame flat roof. It does not drain properly. We're proposing to put that under barrel tile. So in the new roof plan here, you can see we're slightly extending the area of the parapeted roof and introducing a new barrel tile hip roof over the addition, just a single hip, fairly simple, and then continuing over that what was previously flat and not in good condition, a barrel tile roof that will run in and die into the side of that hip. You can see here the primary elevation. Essentially, what we're doing is introducing that second story open terrace. There's some open cypress timber framing up there to give it something for some plants to sort of vines to cling to. And this primary hip occurs both lower than about a foot lower than the primary hip on the residence, and is also pushed back about 8 feet in plan. 6 feet. So the other thing that we would like to address on the front facade is the resolution of this previously enclosed carport, which we do not believe was done with any historic approval due to the timing. There are existing vinyl windows that are non-original and in poor condition, which we're proposing to eliminate. And I believe that's the only condition in the staff report, which Frederic will mention later, is that we will essentially return this carport as close as we can to its original condition. It's currently conditioned space, so we're introducing plate glazing to give it the appearance from the street that it's still open air as best we can without reconverting it to exterior space, which is not desired. But again, all of the fenestration on the project will, on the north facing street elevation, will be original. The new windows on the addition will be aluminum clad wood to match the double hungs and the casements. It's primarily casements on the first floor, double hungs on the second floor. For whatever reason, and we're going to maintain that sort of character. You can see here the west facade. We're modifying some of the fenestration on the accessory structure relative to the existing garage bays. The rear elevation, you can see the reflection of the additional wing, which you have essentially the 2 outdoor living spaces stacked on top of each other here, and then kind of trying to get a new line of symmetry here about the dining room with a little Juliet balcony that peeks over the pergola here from the master bath. This will be an open pergola. This will be cypress timber construction with wrought aluminum railings and then stucco piers at the lower level. You can see in the east elevation the addition of the new chimney, which we are requesting. The current chimney does not have any spark arrestor or any way that it terminates at the top. We're proposing to add clay pots to both the top of the existing chimney and the proposed new chimney on the rear. I think it's worth mentioning the neighbor to the east, the owners are friendly with, and has reviewed these documents and is supportive of how this elevation and wing presents itself to her home. Can see some other minor adjustments are making to an existing opening in the fenestration on the accessory structure. We're replacing all of the fenestration on the accessory with a muntin pattern that is compatible with the primary residence. You can see a section here cut through the new addition, bedroom, the two outdoor living spaces on top of each other. You can see some interior pictures of the home. I think it's worth mentioning the homeowners have preserved the original materials in the home. They've redone extensively plaster work that's original to the home, as well as the existing wood floors, which will remain. The kitchen will be, of course, reconfigured. And I'll open it up to any questions.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, James.
The ground floor study and the second floor bathroom, which is kind of the hinge of the intervention for the new addition, those windows are going to remain as original. The size of the openings, the triple windows on the ground floor and the double on the second floor?
Yes, those will remain original in spacing and location and material. The one change that I forgot to mention, apologies, we are asking to change the sash color on this of all the windows on the project from the existing white to an olive green, which I believe I have the Anderson E series here. It'd be this lighter green here. And they would all be aluminum clad wood, which will most closely emulate the natural wood windows with the true divided lights.
Any further questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Frederic Mittner presenting case 23-18, an ad valorem pre-construction application for an addition at 214 Monroe Drive. This is a contributing property to the Prospect Park / Southland Park Historic District. As you can see, Monroe is actually a unique street because it has larger lots than some of the others in Prospect Southland Park. And as the architect already mentioned, the owners have been very mindful about their approach to this property. They've taken their time and have been very sensitive to the materials and the modifications they wish to make. So the addition is two-story. It includes exterior or open air spaces and interior spaces, primarily to the east of the home. Window and door replacements on the sides and the rear while they're preserving the front, which is rare, and that is really wonderful that they're doing that, as well as site work. This is the first floor that you've already seen. Again, the majority over here, open at the back here. Second floor, also open space at the rear. And then the modifications from the street elevation. So it is significant in size, and it does change the streetscape. However, the lots are large. As was already mentioned, the roof line is lower. It does balance the house and the lot. And again, the width of the addition is also narrower than the primary structure. And because of the other mindful alterations and preservation efforts, such as the windows, interior finishes, we think this was a very thoughtful approach to this addition. These are some of the other elevations. My condition is on this side arch. This was a porte-cochere, and to retain this arch, and again, instead of modifying it to 2 windows, and to have it read like an open space. The other elevations and modifications at the rear, to the accessory, as well as to the east of the primary structure, and the other elevations of the accessory structure. So in reviewing our additional compatibility criteria and Secretary Interior Standards 9 and 10, I do believe it is compatible with those. And so again, my recommendation to the board would be to approve the request with the condition that the previously enclosed porte-cochere, which has turned into kind of a sunroom, this arched opening will remain as an arch and may be replaced with a single pane of glass. Because of its span, it may need perhaps one mull piece in the middle, but in general, that it does read as one large opening instead of being replaced with 2 single hung windows. Thank you. Happy
Thank
to
you.
answer any
Questions of staff? Thank you. Do you have any members of the public? We do not. I think it's a very thoughtful addition. I appreciate that you've lived with the house for a while and, really put in the care and effort. It's always wonderful to see projects like this that are just very thoughtful and sensitive to the property.
Yeah, so I think this is a home run. This is probably the best addition that I've seen in my time here. There's a certain amount of complexity to the existing massing that is only slightly lost with the location of the second floor, the 2-story addition. But I think that it's really, really well done. I wouldn't suggest a single change.
I'd also just like to applaud the windows again. It's so rare, not just to have the front windows restored now, but also to use such a good product on the remainder of your house. And with these historic structures, when I was in school, one of my professors said fenestration is one of the, if not the most important aspects of homes, and it's the most commonly replaced. So I just want to thank you and your design team for being so thoughtful in how you restore this house.
I agree, and thank you for being concerned about our historic nature of our neighborhoods and homes, and what you're going to be building here is absolutely beautiful, and congrats.
With that, would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve 214 Monroe as presented, with a condition that the, I forget what direction that is, sorry. West facing porte-cochere window.
I need to stop you.
Hold on, I'm just going to read it. Sorry.
Is there,
I think she wants you to read from your packet.
Oh, gotcha, sorry.
so if you could start that again, sir.
I'm going to start all over. And can you pull up the condition just so I have it up right here? Thanks. Thank you. I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application 23-18 for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 9449 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation, specifically 9 and 10, with state, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 9449 of the city's zoning and land development regulations, specifically criteria 9 and 10, which state, I can't understand that. The conditions include the following: the previously enclosed west elevation arch sunroom opening shall remain, but be replaced with a single pane of glass as is proposed on the front facade to simulate the transparency of an open room.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Your motion carries. Your project is approved. Good luck.
Unfortunately, it appears we don't have our last applicant here. They were informed of the meeting. I know in the past we've just continued a case if they didn't show up, or
If you've done that, if you've done that in the past, you can do that again tonight, or what would they normally do, Ms. Mittner, in terms of otherwise reapply, or what would the process be?
or yes, if the case is heard and it's denied, then the applicant would have to substantially revise their application or wait another year.
Okay, so if you've done a motion to continue, if you've continued it, other ones, that's certainly an
Typically,
option
you've at
tonight.
least given the applicant one opportunity to present their case, yes.
I'll move to continue case number 23-21 for 442 28th Street to next month's Historic Preservation Board meeting on May 23rd, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And can we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn tonight's Historic Preservation Board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
You too.